The first thing I noticed when I stepped into the council chamber was the silence. Not the kind that comes from discipline or fear. This was something heavier, like the room itself was holding its breath. The second thing I noticed was worse. There were no reflections. At first, I thought it was the lighting. The chamber was made entirely of glass-like crystal, walls, floor, even the towering columns that stretched up into darkness. It should have been a maze of mirrored surfaces. Instead, everything swallowed light. My boots crossed a polished floor that should have shown my face staring back at me, but there was nothing, just empty depth. I slowed without meaning to. That's when I saw her. High Empress Lyra Voss stood at the far end of the hall, elevated above the gathered nobles like something carved from starlight and steel. 7 feet tall, silver skin catching the glow of floating prisms, and still, no reflection. Not beneath her feet, not behind her, not anywhere. I had read the reports. Asterisk, she burned worlds for less. Asterisk, entire systems erased over perceived insults. Fleets reduced to drifting metal because someone misread protocol. This wasn't a ruler you spoke freely around. And yet, something felt wrong. Or maybe it was just me. Ambassador Ethan Cole, one of the officials, announced, his voice echoing. Representative of the outer human colonies. Every eye turned. Thousands of years of empire. Power layered on power. And me. A former schoolteacher who used to argue with 12-year-olds about homework. I walked forward anyway, step by step, toward a being who could end my life with a gesture. Her violet eyes settled on me, sharp, unreadable. I should have bowed, said something diplomatic, something safe. Instead, I spoke. You're beautiful. The words left my mouth before I could stop them. The effect was immediate. The chamber didn't just go quiet. It broke. Gasps. Movement. The sound of metal sliding free from sheaths. And at the center of it all, her. For the first time, the unshakable Empress moved. Not in anger. Not yet. But something cracked behind those glowing eyes. And in that moment, I realized I had just said the one thing in this entire empire that I never should have said. I didn't understand what I had done. Not fully. I understood danger. You don't need cultural briefings to recognize that. The shift in the room was instant, like I had stepped on something invisible and triggered a mechanism older than reason. Blades came out. Not dramatically, not chaotically, just efficiently. A dozen of them, maybe more, drawn in perfect synchronization by figures who didn't even bother to look at each other. They didn't need to. This was protocol. I stayed where I was. Not because I was brave, because I was trying to remember the exact wording of the cultural index file I had skimmed 3 nights ago and half ignored. Something about form, status, ownership. Remove him. Her voice cut through everything. High Empress Lyra Voss didn't raise it. She didn't need to. The chamber obeyed her the way gravity obeys a planet. Remove this creature from my presence. 2 guards stepped forward immediately. Tall, armored, their movements smooth and deliberate. One reached for my arm. I raised my hand. Not fast, not threatening, just enough to pause the moment. Your Radiance, I said. The guard hesitated. That was all the time I needed. I meant no offense. A mistake. I knew it the second the words left my mouth. Her expression changed, not into rage, not yet, but into something sharper, something colder. No offense, she repeated. There was a faint sound, like glass under pressure. You stand in the center of my dominion, before the ruler of 11 star systems. She took a step forward, robes whispering across the crystal floor. And you claim ignorance? I swallowed. This was the part where I should have backed down. Apologized properly. Said I misunderstood. Blamed translation errors. Instead, I did the one thing that had gotten me in trouble my entire life. I told the truth. In my culture, I said carefully, calling someone beautiful isn't an insult. That did it. A ripple moved through the chamber. Not just shock now, but something closer to outrage. One of the nobles actually took a step forward, as if he couldn't physically contain his reaction. The Empress didn't look at them. Her eyes stayed locked on me. Explain. It wasn't a request. I exhaled slowly. Where I come from, I said, beauty isn't about control. It's not about claiming someone. It's not about reducing them. I could feel every gaze in the room pressing into me. It means you see them. Silence. I took another step, not closer to her, just forward into the moment. You see the person beneath everything else. Not their title, not their power, not what they can give you. I hesitated. This was the point where I could still stop. Still turn it into something safer. I didn't. It's a recognition. I finished. Not ownership. For a second, nothing happened. Then, lies. The words snapped across the chamber. Not from her. From one of the nobles. Human distortion, another voice added. A manipulation tactic. Your radiance. A tall figure stepped forward, armored differently, more ornate. A commander. Say the word. His hand rested lightly on the hilt of his blade. I will end this. I didn't look at him. I kept my eyes on her. Because this wasn't about them anymore. This was about whether she believed me, or whether I was about to die. Her gaze didn't waver, but something shifted. It was small, almost invisible. A flicker, like she was trying to reconcile two completely incompatible ideas. You claim, she said slowly, that your words were not a challenge. No, not an assertion of dominance. No, not an attempt to humiliate me before my court. I shook my head. No. A pause, long enough for the entire chamber to lean into it. Then what were they? I didn't plan the answer. It just came. They were honest. The commander's blade cleared its sheath. The sound echoed. I didn't flinch. Not because I wasn't afraid, but because, at that point, there wasn't anything left to protect. I had already crossed the line. The empress stepped closer. Now she was right in front of me. Up close, she was overwhelming. Not just physically, though the height difference alone made that clear, but in presence. Like standing too close to something powerful enough to rewrite the rules around it. You understand, she said quietly, what those words mean here. Yes. And you spoke them anyway. Yes. Why? There it was. The real question. Not political, not cultural, personal. I took a breath. Because if I hesitated now, it would look like fear. And maybe it was. But it wasn't the kind that mattered. Because, I said, no one else has. The silence that followed was different. Not sharp, not explosive, heavy, confused. Like something in the room didn't know how to exist anymore. Her eyes narrowed slightly. Not in anger, in thought. Behind me, I could hear movement, subtle repositioning, tension tightening again. The Empire was waiting. For her decision, execution, or something else. She studied me for a long moment. Then, leave us. It hit the room like a shockwave. No one moved. The commander blinked. Your radiance. Did I stutter? Now the anger was there. Cold. Absolute. The kind that didn't need volume to be understood. The chamber erupted into motion. Not chaotic, controlled, precise, but fast. Nobles withdrawing, guards stepping back, blades disappearing as quickly as they had appeared. Within seconds, the massive hall was emptying. All except me. And her. The doors sealed with a low, final sound. Silence returned. But it wasn't the same silence as before. This one was smaller, closer, more dangerous. She didn't step away, didn't turn, just stood there, looking at me like she was trying to see something she had never been allowed to see before. You are either, she said slowly, very brave. A pause. Or very foolish. I let out a small breath. Usually both, I said. For the first time, something in her expression almost changed. Not fully, not safely, but enough to make one thing clear. I wasn't dead yet. And somehow, that felt more dangerous than if I had been. If you've watched this far, then this story is really interesting to you. Please confirm it by clicking like under this video. It doesn't cost you anything, but it will help me understand what story to publish for you next. Let's move on. She turned away from me. Not abruptly, not dismissively. It was controlled. Everything about her was controlled, but there was something beneath it now. Something less certain. Walk with me, she said. Not a command. Not quite a request either. I followed. The doors behind the throne opened without a sound, revealing a corridor that curved along the outer edge of the palace. The walls were transparent, or something close to it, giving a full view of Kalian Prime below. The city was impossible. Towers like frozen lightning. Bridges suspended in open air. Streams of light moving through the sky in organized patterns that I couldn't begin to understand. And everywhere, glass. Glass that didn't reflect. I caught my own absence again in the surface beside me. My outline was there, but hollow, like something erased. I frowned. She noticed. You see it, she said. It wasn't a question. Yes. We walked in silence for a few steps. Then, it unsettles you. A little, I admitted. That is good. I glanced at her. It should. There was no pride in her voice. No satisfaction. Just fact. We reached a wide chamber at the end of the corridor, smaller than the council hall, but still vast by any normal standard. A single table stood in the center, surrounded by structures that resembled chairs but weren't built for human proportions. No guards, no attendants, just us. That alone told me more than anything she had said. She took her place on one side of the table and gestured for me to sit. I did. For a moment, neither of us spoke. She studied me the way someone studies a puzzle they're not sure they want to solve. "What is your position on your world?" she asked finally. I blinked. "That's the first question? It is the only one that matters." "Fair enough. I don't really have one," I said. "Not anymore." Her gaze sharpened slightly. "You represent your species. I represent a very small part of it." That is not an answer. I leaned back a little. It's the honest one. She didn't react. So I continued. "I was a teacher," I said. "Small coastal town. Nothing important. No political connections. No power." "Then why are you here?" "Because no one else wanted to be." That, at least, got a reaction. Small, but real. "You expect me to believe," she said slowly, "that your people sent an insignificant individual to represent them before my court." "They didn't," I said. "They sent whoever was willing to go." "And you were?" "Yes." "Why?" I hesitated. Not because I didn't know the answer, because I wasn't sure if I should give it. Then again, I had already told her she was beautiful in front of her entire court. There wasn't much left to protect. "I didn't have anything keeping me there," I said. Her expression didn't change. "Clarify." I exhaled slowly. "My wife died," I said. "A long time ago. We didn't have children. My parents are gone. The town moved on." The words felt simple, flat, like I had said them too many times. There wasn't anything left for me to lose, I finished. Silence. Not uncomfortable. Just heavy. She looked at me differently now. Not with suspicion. Not with anger. Something else. "And so," she said, "you chose to come here." "Yes." "To a place where you were considered expendable." I gave a small shrug. "I'm used to being underestimated." That almost sounded like humor. Almost. She leaned back slightly, her gaze drifting past me, not unfocused, but distant. "Among my people," she said, "every position is earned through power." "Yeah," I said. "I figured. There is no such thing as nothing to lose." I tilted my head. "There is where I come from." She looked back at me. "For someone with nothing to lose," she said, "you speak with unusual certainty." I smiled faintly. "That's kind of the advantage." A pause. Then, "Explain something to me." Her tone shifted again. More personal. Less formal. "When you spoke in the council chamber," she said, "you knew the meaning of your words." "Yes." "You understood the consequences." "Yes." "And yet you said them anyway." "Yes." Her eyes narrowed slightly. "Why?" There it was again. The real question. Not about politics. Not about culture. About intention. I looked at her. Really looked. Past the height. The presence. The power. At the person underneath. "You want the diplomatic answer," I said. "I want the truth." I nodded. "Okay." I leaned forward slightly. "Because you looked alone." The words hung there. Between us. Sharp. Dangerous. Her entire posture changed. Not dramatically, but enough. "You presume much," she said quietly. "Yeah," I said. "I do." Silence. I could feel it again. That same tension from the council chamber, but smaller now. Focused. Contained. "You stand in the presence of the most powerful being in this region of space," she said. "You have seen the reach of my authority." "Yes." "And your conclusion," she leaned forward slightly, "is that I am alone." I met her gaze. "Yes." Another pause. Longer this time. Then she stood, moved away from the table, toward the far wall, a massive, curved surface of what looked like liquid glass. She stopped in front of it, and for the first time, I saw it clearly. Nothing. No reflection. Not even a shadow. Just empty space where she should have been. "Do you know," she said quietly, "what they call me?" I stayed where I was. "No." Her voice was softer now. Not weaker. Just less guarded. "The untouchable empress." She placed one hand against the glass. "Do you know why?" I didn't answer. I didn't need to. She did it for me. "Because no one has ever seen me," she said. A small pause. Then, "And survived it unchanged." I stood slowly. Walked closer. Careful. Measured. Not invading. Just present. "I did," I said. She didn't turn. "No," she said. You saw what you wanted to see. I shook my head, even though she couldn't see it. No, I said quietly. I saw what was there. Another pause. Then, which is, I stopped a few steps behind her, close enough to speak without raising my voice. Far enough not to cross a line I didn't understand yet. Someone who's been treated like a weapon for so long, I said. They forgot they were ever anything else. Silence. Deep. Heavy. And then, for just a second, her shoulders dropped. Barely, but enough. And in that moment, I realized something. The absence of reflections wasn't an accident, and whatever it meant, it mattered. A lot. She didn't turn around. Not right away. Her hand remained pressed against the glass, that impossible surface that showed nothing, reflected nothing, revealed nothing. It should have mirrored her perfectly. Instead, it erased her, just like every other surface in this place. I do not forget, she said finally. Her voice had that same controlled precision again, but it was thinner now, like something underneath was pressing against it. I choose what I am. I stepped a little closer. I believe that, I said. I just don't think anyone ever gave you another option. That got a reaction. Small. Sharp. Her fingers curled slightly against the glass. You presume again. Yeah, I admitted. I do that. She exhaled slowly. Not irritated. Not angry. Just tired. Among my people, she said, power is identity. It is not something we carry. It is what we are. And if you lose it, you cease to exist. I frowned. That's not existence. That's performance. That word lingered in the air longer than anything else I had said. Performance. Her shoulders stiffened. You think I perform. I think you've had to. Silence. Then, slowly, she turned. And for the first time since I had met her, there was no mask. Not fully, but enough. The sharp, controlled lines of her expression had softened just a fraction. The overwhelming presence was still there. It didn't disappear, but it wasn't pushing outward anymore. It was contained, focused inward. You are very certain, she said. No, I said quietly. Just observant. Her eyes locked onto mine. Searching. Testing. Then observe this, she said. She stepped closer. Close enough now that I could see the faint patterns beneath her silver skin, subtle shifts of color, like light moving through metal. They pulsed faintly, reacting to something I couldn't see. Or maybe something I could. Emotion. In 140 cycles, she said, no one has ever spoken to me the way you have. That's kind of the problem, I said. Her gaze sharpened. You assume that is a flaw. I think it's a cost. A pause. Of power. Of isolation. That word hit harder than I expected. Because this time, she didn't deflect it, didn't challenge it. She just absorbed it. And that was worse. Every individual who has approached me, she said slowly, has done so with purpose. Of course. Ambition. Strategy. Fear. Yeah. Desire. That one lingered. Her expression tightened slightly. They wanted my throne. My influence. My favor. My body as a means to secure all three. Her voice didn't rise. Didn't break. But something in it hollowed. And you claim, she continued, to want none of these things. I met her gaze. I don't. Then what do you want? The question was immediate. Direct. And for the first time, I didn't have a prepared answer. I thought about it. Really thought about it. Then, I think, I said slowly, I wanted to meet you. A pause. That is all. I nodded. That's all. She studied me. Longer this time. Deeper. Like she was trying to find the angle, the hidden intention, the manipulation she had spent a lifetime learning to detect. But there wasn't one. And I think that confused her more than anything else. You came to the most dangerous place in this region of space, she said, to meet me. Yeah. You risked your life. I've been doing that since I got here. For something with no strategic value. I gave a small shrug. Depends how you define value. Her eyes narrowed slightly. You redefine everything. No, I said. I just don't use the same definitions. Another pause. Then, her gaze shifted. Not away, but past me. To the surrounding chamber. To the glass. To the empty surfaces that reflected nothing. You keep looking at it, she said. I followed her line of sight. Hard not to. What do you think it means? There it was. The question she had been avoiding. Turned back on me. I took a breath. You don't want to see yourself. Silence. Immediate. Heavy. But this time, not defensive. Not explosive. Just still. I stepped closer to one of the surfaces. ran my hand just above it, not touching. It's not just the main chamber, I said. It's everywhere. Every reflective surface in this place has been altered. I glanced at her. That's not design. That's intent. She didn't deny it. Didn't confirm it either. Continue, she said. So I did. You erased yourself? I said. From every place that could show you what you look like. A long pause. Then, why would I do that? Her tone was calm. Too calm. I met her eyes. Because at some point, you stopped recognizing the person looking back. That landed. I could see it. Not in some dramatic reaction. Not in anger. But in the way her breathing changed. Just slightly. Like something had been hit that wasn't supposed to be touched. That is speculation, she said. Yeah. And you speak it as fact. I speak it as what it looks like. Her gaze didn't leave mine. And if you are wrong, I held it. Then you tell me. A pause. Then, she looked away. Just for a second. But it was enough. Because when she looked back, there was something new there. Not power. Not control. Not even anger. Vulnerability. Small. Barely there. But real. No one, she said quietly, has ever asked that question. I figured. Because no one would dare assume such weakness. I shook my head slightly. I don't think it's weakness. That got her attention again. No. I think it's what happens when someone's been forced to be strong for too long. Silence. Deep. Uncomfortable. Honest. She turned again, but not away this time. Just slightly. Enough to break the direct intensity. Among my people, she said slowly, to be seen is to be exposed. Yeah, I said. And exposure is vulnerability. Sometimes. I nodded. Sometimes it's just being understood. That word hung between us. Understood. She didn't respond right away. Didn't dismiss it. Didn't challenge it. Just stood there, processing. And then, for the first time, her voice dropped. Not in authority. Not in command. In something else. Do you understand me, Ambassador? I didn't answer immediately. Because this time, the truth mattered more than being right. I think, I said slowly, I'm starting to. A long pause. Then, so am I, she said. And that, more than anything else, changed the room. Because for the first time since I had arrived, the Empress of 11-star systems didn't sound untouchable. She sounded human. The first sign that something had gone wrong wasn't the attack. It was the silence. Kalian Prime was never truly quiet. Even in the lower transit corridors, far beneath the ceremonial halls and observation decks, there was always a hum. Distant energy flows, passing transport streams, the quiet pulse of a living city. That night, there was nothing. I slowed as I walked. Instinct. The kind you don't learn from books or briefings, but from years of noticing when something feels just slightly off. The corridor lights flickered once, then stabilized. Too clean, too deliberate. I stopped, listened. Nothing. No footsteps. No distant movement. No overlapping signals from the transit lanes above. Just absence. Yeah, I muttered under my breath. That's not ominous at all. I kept walking. Because stopping in the middle of a silent corridor in the most dangerous city in the system didn't seem like a better plan. I had just come from a council session. Not the main chamber, but a secondary advisory gathering. Minor progress. Observation status. Enough to irritate the noble houses without giving them anything concrete to push back against. Lyra had warned me. Not directly. She didn't do warnings in the way humans understood them. But I had seen it in the way her tone shifted when certain names were mentioned. In the way the room changed when I spoke. In the way the nobles looked at me. Like I was a problem. Or a threat. Or both. I rounded a corner. And that's when the lights died. Not flickered. Not dimmed. Gone. Total darkness. I froze. Not out of fear. Out of calculation. Footsteps. 3 of them. Soft. Measured. Closing in. Well, I said quietly, that answers that. A faint glow ignited ahead. Not bright enough to illuminate the corridor fully. Just enough to reveal shapes. 3 figures. Tall. Masked. Ceremonial armor, but stripped of insignia. Which meant one thing. Unofficial. Human, one of them said. The voice was distorted, filtered. You have exceeded your purpose. I didn't move. Didn't reach for anything. Didn't have anything to reach for. That happens sometimes, I said. You have altered the Empress's behavior. Another voice this time. Colder. More controlled. She was not meant to change. I let out a small breath. Yeah, I said. That seems like the general problem. They didn't react. Didn't shift. Just advanced. Slowly. Step back, the first one said. Or what? A pause. Then, you will die where you stand. Fair enough. I glanced around. No exits within reach. No cover. No tools. Just me. And them. Before we do this, I said, can I ask something? They didn't stop. Why not? I continued. You're clearly not doing this for personal reasons. You are a destabilizing element. Yeah, I got that part. You have introduced variables that compromise established order. That sounds like a very polite way of saying you don't like change. No response. Figures. You know, I added, from where I'm standing, this feels less like protecting the empire and more like protecting your position in it. That got a reaction. Subtle. But there. The lead figure tilted their head slightly. Your perspective is irrelevant. Usually is. They were close now. Too close. I could see the faint energy edge forming along one of their blades. Clean. Efficient. This wasn't intimidation. This was execution. Final warning, the lead figure said. I exhaled slowly. No, I said. The word hung there. Simple. Uncomplicated. Final. The blade moved. Fast. I barely saw it coming. Instinct took over. I shifted, not enough to avoid it completely, but enough to change the angle. Pain exploded through my arm. Hot. Sharp. Immediate. I stumbled back, hitting the wall hard enough to knock the breath out of me. Yeah, I hissed. That tracks. Blood soaked through my sleeve almost instantly. The figures didn't hesitate. Didn't rush. Just adjusted. Advanced again. You are unarmed, one of them said. Observant. You are alone. Also accurate. You will die? Probably. I pushed myself off the wall. Forced my legs to hold. Because if I went down, this was over. Still seems like a waste, I said. They didn't answer. Didn't need to. The lead figure raised their blade again. And then, everything stopped. Not metaphorically. Not figuratively. Literally. The blade froze mid-motion. The air itself seemed to lock in place. The figures stopped. Suspended. Like something had reached into reality and pressed pause. I exhaled. Slow. Careful. Because I knew exactly what that meant. A presence filled the corridor. Not physical. Not visible. But overwhelming. You dare. Her voice didn't echo. It didn't need to. It existed everywhere at once. Cold. Precise. Absolute. The figures tried to move. They couldn't. Their bodies trembled under the force holding them in place. Your radiance, one of them managed. Silence. That was all it took. The corridor shifted. Not visually, but in weight. Like gravity itself had increased. And then, she stepped forward. Lyra Voss. No guards. No ceremony. Just her. And power. Unfiltered. Her eyes burned with something I hadn't seen before. Not controlled. Not measured. Fury. Pure. Unrestrained. You raise weapons, she said quietly. Against one under my protection. The words were calm. But everything around them wasn't. The air vibrated. The walls hummed. The figures were lifted. Not gently. Not carefully. Dragged upward. Suspended like broken marionettes. You presume to decide what I am allowed to become. Her hand lifted. Slowly. Deliberately. The space around her warped. And I knew. What was about to happen. I had read the reports. Seen the aftermath. Entire fleets crushed like this. Worlds reduced to silence. She was going to kill them. Not out of necessity. Not out of defense. Out of certainty. Out of what she had always been. I pushed forward. Ignoring the pain. Ignoring the blood. Lyra. The name cut through everything. The pressure shifted. Just slightly. Her gaze snapped to me. For a second. Just a second. The fury broke. Replaced by something else. Fear. Don't, I said. Her expression hardened instantly. They tried to kill you. I know. They will try again. Probably. Her hand tightened. The space around the suspended figures compressed. I could hear it. The strain. The breaking point. Then why? She demanded. Should they live? I took another step. Unsteady. But closer. Because this is the moment that decides who you are. Silence. The corridor held its breath again. Just like the council chamber. You said, I continued. You didn't want to be untouchable. Her jaw tightened. This is what that looks like. The words landed. I saw it. That same hesitation from before. But this time, it was fighting something much stronger. They hurt you, she said. Her voice cracked. Just slightly. They almost. I'm still here. That is not the point. It is for me. I stopped in front of her, close enough now to feel the heat of the power she was holding back. We're trying to. This doesn't fix anything, I said. It just proves them right. Her eyes narrowed. They should fear me. They should understand you. That is not how power works. Maybe that's the problem. Another pause. Longer. More dangerous. The pressure in the corridor built. Then wavered. For the first time, it wavered. And in that moment, I realized something. This wasn't just about them. Or me. This was about her choosing. For the first time, whether she would stay who she had always been, or become something else. For a moment that stretched too long, nothing moved. Her hand was still raised. The assassins hung suspended in the air, their bodies trembling under the invisible force crushing around them. The corridor groaned softly, as if the structure itself wasn't sure it could withstand what she was about to do. And her eyes, they were still burning, but not the same way. Not pure fury anymore. Conflict. I had seen it once before, back in the council chamber. That flicker when something inside her didn't align with what she was supposed to be. Now it was stronger, louder, dangerous in a completely different way. They tried to kill you, she said again. Quieter this time, like she was trying to convince herself. I know. They would have succeeded. Maybe. Her gaze snapped back to me. That is not acceptable. No, I said. It's not. A pause. But this won't fix it. Her fingers tightened slightly. The suspended figures jerked upward, a strangled sound escaping one of them. The pressure spiked. I stepped closer. Careful. Slow. Because if I pushed too hard, if I said the wrong thing, this would end exactly the way it always had. With destruction. You told me, I said, that you were tired. She didn't respond. But I saw it. That small shift again. So I kept going. Tired of being the untouchable empress. Her jaw clenched. That does not mean I become weak. I didn't say that. This, she gestured slightly, is not weakness. It is control. I shook my head. No, I said quietly. This is what you've always done. Silence. Sharp. Immediate. You believe I am incapable of change. I think this is the moment you prove you're not. That landed harder than anything else I had said. Because this time, she didn't deflect it. Didn't argue. She just stood there, caught between two versions of herself. The one that ruled through fear, and the one she wasn't sure she was allowed to become. They deserve to die, she said. Not loudly, not angrily, just certain. Yeah, I said. That surprised her. I could see it. You agree? I understand. A pause. That is not the same. No, I said. It's not. I took another step. Close enough now that the air itself felt heavy around me, thick with the energy she was holding in place. But this isn't about what they deserve. Her eyes narrowed. It is always about that. Not this time. Her gaze locked onto mine. Dangerous again. Explain. I held it. Didn't look away. Because if you kill them right now, I said, you're not choosing justice. A beat. You're choosing what's familiar. The words hit. Hard. The pressure in the corridor spiked. Then faltered. Just slightly. Familiar, she repeated. Yeah. I exhaled slowly. Control. Fear. Absolute power. No hesitation. No doubt. I gestured lightly toward the suspended figures. That's what they expect from you. They should expect it. Why? Because it works. I shook my head. It worked, I said. Past tense. Her expression tightened. You stand here because of that power. I stand here because you didn't use it on me. That stopped her. Completely. For a second, everything froze again. Not from her power. From the realization. You had every reason to destroy me in that chamber. I continued. Every justification. Every right, by your rules. A pause. But you didn't. Her hand trembled. Barely. But enough. That was different. Was it? Silence. She didn't answer. Because she couldn't. Because she knew. It wasn't different. It was the same choice. Just on a smaller scale. You said no one had ever seen you. I said. Her gaze flickered. Just for a second. And that scared you. It does not. It does, I said quietly. Because being seen means you don't get to hide behind what you've always been. That one went deeper. I could see it. Not in her expression, but in the way the power around us started to destabilize. Not breaking, but shifting. Uncertain. They tried to take you away from me, she said. The words were softer now. More personal. Less imperial. I know. And you expect me to show mercy. I'm asking you to choose it. Why? There it was again. The question that mattered. Not what. Not how. Why? I took a breath. Because this is the first decision you make, I said. That isn't based on fear. A long pause. Her eyes searched mine, looking for something. A reason. A flaw. A weakness. Anything she could use to dismiss what I was saying. But there wasn't one. And I think that was the problem. You are asking me, she said slowly, to risk appearing weak before my entire empire. Yes. That will invite more attacks. Probably. That will destabilize everything I have built. Maybe. Her gaze hardened slightly. And you still believe this is the correct course of action? I nodded. Yes. A pause. Then, why? I didn't hesitate this time. Because you don't want to be feared anymore. Silence. Deep. Heavy. Honest. The power in the corridor surged. Then, stopped. Completely. Her hand lowered. Slowly. Deliberately. The suspended figures dropped to the ground, gasping, collapsing under their own weight. The pressure vanished. The air snapped back into place. For a second, no one moved. Not them. Not me. Not her. Then, guards. Her voice returned. Controlled. Precise. But different. Not colder. Stronger. Not because it was feared. Because it was chosen. Figures rushed into the corridor from both ends, weapons ready, stopping short as they took in the scene. Take them, she said. Her gaze never left mine. To holding. One of the guards hesitated. Your radiance, their sentence. A trial. The word cut clean. Public. Lawful. Shock rippled through the arriving guards. I could see it. They weren't used to this. None of them were. Your radiance, another began carefully. This is highly irregular. Then consider it a new precedent. Silence. Then, yes, your radiance. The guards moved quickly, securing the assassins, dragging them away. The corridor emptied again, leaving just the two of us. And this time, the silence felt different. Not tense, not dangerous, just real. She turned to me slowly, and for the first time, there was no distance in her gaze. No barrier, no untouchable presence. Just her. You almost died, she said. Yeah. Her hand lifted, not with power, with hesitation. And then, she touched my arm, gently, the same place where the blade had cut through. Her fingers trembled. You are injured. I've had worse. You have not. There was no argument in her voice, just certainty, but not the same kind as before. Not absolute, not unchallengeable, personal. She looked at the blood, at the damage, at what had almost happened, and something in her broke. Not visibly, not dramatically, but I felt it. You were almost taken from me, she said quietly. The words were different. Not imperial, not strategic, not political, personal. And that, more than anything else, was new. I looked at her, really looked, at the woman who could end worlds, and had just chosen not to. I'm still here, I said. Her eyes lifted to meet mine. And this time, they weren't burning. They were uncertain. I do not know what this is, she admitted. I gave a small, tired smile. Yeah, I said. Me neither. A pause. Then, but I think, I added, that's kind of the point. She studied me for a long moment. Then, slowly, she stepped closer, not as an empress, not as a ruler, as someone who had just made a choice, and wasn't sure what came next. And for the first time since I had met her, she didn't look untouchable. She looked real. Months later, the mirrors of Kalian Prime returned. Not all at once. Not as a declaration. Quietly, one chamber at a time, one corridor at a time, until reflection became part of the world again. And no one spoke about it. Not directly, but everyone noticed. The empress who once erased herself from every surface now stood before them without turning away. She no longer ruled from distance alone. She spoke more, listened more. The fear remained, but it was no longer the only thing that defined her. The empire didn't understand it. Some feared it, some resented it, but none could deny it. The change had begun, and I stood beside her, not as an outsider anymore, not as a temporary envoy, but as something far more complicated. Chosen, accepted, seen. The first time she stood before a restored mirror, I was there. She didn't move at first, didn't speak, just looked. At herself. At the woman beneath the crown, beneath the power, beneath everything she had been forced to become. For a long moment, I thought she might turn away. She didn't. Instead, she reached out and touched the surface, as if confirming it was real. I had forgotten, she said quietly, what it felt like to exist without hiding. I stepped beside her. You didn't forget, I said. You just weren't allowed to. She glanced at me, and for the first time, she smiled without restraint. Not controlled, not measured, real. I love you, she said. Simple, certain, without fear. And in that moment, I realized something. Empires don't change because of power. They change because someone chooses something different. She burned worlds for less. But when a human called her beautiful, everything shifted. Thank you for listening to this story to the end. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Write in the comments what moment in this story impressed you the most. And also check out the other videos that just appeared on your screen. See you in the next video.